Okay, so so today's section is mostly with the event handling, how many types we can handle the events, okay, in the class component and the functional component, okay, and introduction to the hooks, what actually hooks does, and how we can define the state, what types of inbuilt hooks are available in the market as of now, and what are the specific the hooks which are which are mainly used to just the achieve the the class functionalities, we can say, in terms of the state. So use state is there, and just to perform the life cycle methods phases, okay, and to just to overcome the side effects. So in the hooks, okay, so that is taken care by the use effect, okay. So these two are the important, and apart from these two hooks, there are some multiple hooks. So we'll just see in the slides, okay. And the in the practice session, mostly we'll be having uh, the implementation of the different types of event handling and the hooks, okay. So I'm continue with the next with the slides, okay. So hope you guys are able to see my screen on the slides one.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So event handling. So event handling, the basic simple what event handling is like, event handlers have the access to the React event that triggers the function. So mostly it's related to the function which is going to be triggered. Okay. And React events are named using the camel cases. Okay. Rather than the lowercase on the click instead of the on click. Okay. So here you can find the difference. So here the second, one second, sorry. So here you can see this on click. So here the C is caps, and here this is small. So where it was used in the like earlier JavaScript. Okay. So we write the event handler inside the curly braces. Yes. Okay. In case of the React or the JSX, rather than the passing as a string, we pass a function as a event handler using the on click. You can see here this way we can just like passing the event handler, and instead of like earlier what we are doing. So here you can see the simple example related to the functional component where we have implemented the click handler. Okay. So next, how many ways event handler can be implemented? So there are multiple ways. Okay. So like we will see the event handling in the functional component, in the class component as well. And in the class component, like here, where again, like while declaring the state, we will be adding the constructor part to the class components. Okay, just to updating those object, like again, like at the end, the class which will return us in form of the object. Okay, so it will be having some internal objects. Okay, so which will be stored into the or the constructor, which we can access through the this keyword, right? And in terms of the accessing the props through the this keyword, we also add the super keyword with the props. Okay, so this is about like this keyword. Okay. Again, like in the constructor where we are storing the state, which is again the simple object. To access that object, again we need to bind, or we can just through the callback or the arrow function, we can just update those states just to bind, just to updating that state. So in case of the class component, while writing the event handler, okay, so we need to bind. Okay, so that is the event binding. Okay, so there are two types of binding the events. One is the dynamic binding, and another one is the constructor binding. And so what is the construct? See, you can see like everyone like able to like bind the event handler in the constructor. And also there is one more way where we are calling the event handler. So at that time of binding the event itself called as a dynamic binding. Okay, so there is another way through the arrow function through which we can just like through which we can just declare the, or the, we can say the, while calling the event handler, we need to define in the arrow function way. So there is no need to binding the binding the event handler. Okay, so mostly event handler is required. Sorry, mostly the binding scenarios and arrows. Okay, if we are touching any object, class object, we can say in terms of the props, or we can say in terms of the state. Okay, just to manipulate those things. Okay, it will require us to implement. Okay, and last one is the argument. So on click, if we want to send some argument, so how we'll be sending, so we'll just see in the practice session. Okay, so yeah, moving to the next slide. So here the introduction of the hooks. So what is the hooks actually? Okay. So anyone having any doubt in the event handling? Lavina?
No, I'm good.
Okay, okay. So I'm introduced. So here, like next is the introduction of the hook. So what is basically hooks is, okay. So hooks are the functions that let you hook into the React state lifecycle feature from the function component, and it is introduced in the 16.8 version of the React. So hooks is basically, as per this first point, you can see it's a functions, okay, that let you like hook into the like React state and the life cycle. So what we can, in other words, we can say that like whatever the accessibility we are having in the class component in terms of the state and the life cycle features. Okay, so which will be available in the hooks as well, but there is some inbuilt hook which we need to implement in the functional component. Okay, so this thing has been introduced in the React version of 16.8. Okay, it empowers the DevOps developers to functional to do the functional programming in the React. So that is the main motto. Hook doesn't work inside the class. Okay, so the below all the points are related to where we can implement the hooks. Okay, how we can implement the hooks in terms of the rules. Okay, so hooks doesn't don't work inside the class. They let you use the React without the classes. Okay, so in the next, we can use to isolate the reusable part from a functional component, and hooks can be stateful and can manage the side effects. So this point says that like in case of the reusable component, okay, where it is required to define the individual component in terms of the custom hooks. Okay, so where it will be access to inbuilt hooks in terms of the state and the side, just to manage the side effects. Okay, so it means that like hooks can, or the custom hooks, suppose if we are using any reusable going to create the reusable component using the hooks, we can say. Okay, so in terms of that, like it will having accessibility to the another hooks or the built-in hooks. Example like useState, useEffect. Okay, so that we can manage. Hooks can only be called inside the React function components. It's not able to call inside the class components. Hooks can only be called at the top level of the component. Okay, so this term. So if we are using any hook, okay, so it will be called at the top level. So we'll just like divide the things. Okay, suppose uh, we have one functional component. So it is having some, we are just dividing that functional component into the parts. Okay, one part is the function declaration. Okay, where it's accepting as an argument as a props. Okay, and next it is having the return part, where it is going to return the JSX, or in terms of the HTML, we can say. Okay, so in between these two things, okay, so what is the space is there? So there we can just implement, that is the top of the functional component. Okay, so there only we can just call the our hooks, or the what are the built-in hooks available in terms of the use state or the use effect, and some other are. Okay. And next is don't call hooks inside the loop, condition, and nested functions. So this is the basic one. So we are not able to call the hooks inside the any loop or the conditions, where we are just defining the condition and the nested functions. Okay, so this is the basic one. Okay, so these below 3 to 4 are the rules, and first starting two are the introduction of the what is the hooks is. Okay, so next we are see the what are the basic inbuilt hooks available. Okay, so there are few more. Okay, but these are the basic one. Okay, so if we are starting with the hooks, so at least what is the hooks actually? Okay, so here in terms of the class functionalities. Okay, so where we'll be having the access of the state and the life cycle methods. So these two things are required. These are the first things which we are going to achieve. And another one is the rendering scenarios. Okay, so when rendering scenarios performs, so there are two conditions. One is the state change and another one is the props change. Okay, so in case of the props change, we have already seen while defining the parent and the child relationship between the class component and the functional component as well. Okay, so where we have seen the lift state of as well. Okay, through the callback, where we are just changing the state of our parent component, which is again takes place. We can say that this is the props change, and based on that it is going to re-render. Okay, so that is the simple one. But in case if that functional component should have at least local changes within the component itself, and which need not to share with the other component, or might be we can share. Okay, but it should be the component specific one. But so how the change going to takes place? Okay, if we are declaring simple any variable and if we are changing that, so it is not going to render or the re-render. Okay, so for that, like there is a requirement that state need to be changed in the functional component. So that is why the hooks introduced. Okay, and in the parallel also we are doing some functional programming, right, in the React. So these are the main thing: re-rendering. Okay, and based on the state, and they perform the side effects. So related to the base, related to the state and the side effect. So there are two main inbuilt, we can say, hooks. Okay, so use state to manage the state, return the stateful values, and updater. Okay, to update it. Okay, so while declaring the state, we will be having one state and the state updater. Okay, and use effect to manage the side effects like API calls, subscription, timer, mutations, and the other more are there. Okay, so these are the two main like hooks inbuilt. Okay, and use context just to return the current value of the context we are implementing in the context. Okay, so use callback. It is again like the hooks. Use callback and the use memo both are accepting the dependencies. Yes, use effect as well. Okay, so where we are defining the side effects with the lifecycle methods in terms of, we can say, component did mount, component did update, component will unmount, and other some dependencies label. We can say dependencies label, if like where we are defining the dependencies. So use effect mostly will take one arrow function where we are declaring, where we are just defining what the it should do actually. Okay, what operation it need to perform. Okay, whether it related to the state or any API calling or any other things. Okay, and the second argument will be the array of the dependencies, where we can give some multiple dependencies comma separated. Okay, and the same way use callback and use memo also going to be implemented, but the purpose is different. Okay, so the purpose of use effect and use callback, it seems both, for both it seems same kind of things, where it is going to, one is the memorized, okay, and another one is the memoized. Okay, so in callback, again, if we are passing any event handler as a callback to the child component, okay, so there are some unnecessary renderings, re-rendering occurred. Okay, so just to overcome those kind of scenarios, we'll just define that event handler using the use call based on the some dependencies. Okay, so the dependencies will be what type of variables or the parameters or the what type of value is going to be changed, okay, inside that one. Okay, so that we need to define as a dependencies, so it is again memorize those things. Okay, and it will return the as a function kind of things. Okay, so which is again the, we can say in case of the event handler, here it's written that the callback. Okay, where we are passing the event handler to the child one. Okay, so you can also search just to deep dive into this thing. You can search, you need to search on the event bundling and related topics on those re-rendering scenarios. Okay, so that is basically like these two hooks are like performance optimization things. Okay, the next is the use memo. So again, it is going to memoize the values. Okay, it is going to return the memoize the values, whatever the memoized values are there. Okay, so it is going to return that. Okay, so again, this is the performance optimization. So memoized. Okay, so what is the memoized? Okay, so memoization is again like is a function. Okay, so which will return in case if we take an example, there is a function where we are calling that specific function by passing a parameter, and which is again going to accept those parameter as an argument. Okay, and suppose if we are passing the parameter same type. Okay, so if we are calling that function 10 times, and out of 10, 5 we are passing the same parameter and calling that function again and again. Okay, so in this type of situation, what memoization will do is it will first going to create one cache in terms of, we can take an example of object or the array. Okay, which is going to internally some stored. Okay, so it will take those. Okay, and what are the inputs we are passing? So first it is going to search in those caches. Okay, or the object we can say, and if it is fine, so it will return that value of the cache where we had defined. If we suppose if we are defining as an object, so whatever the input we are taking, that will take as a key, and the what is the that operation we are performing in that particular function, and it's returning some values, so those will count as a value in that object. Okay, so if that key is available, so it is going to return that value. Okay, if it is not, then it is simply perform and store, because it is the first time. Okay, so it will store that input as a key and the value as a value, return value as a value. Okay, so that is the simple meaning of the memoization. So here we also cover the memoization and the callback scenarios. Okay, and next is the use ref. It is the it returns a ref object with the current property. The ref object is a mutable. Okay, it is mainly used to access the child component imperatively. So it means that like there are two types of component. Okay, one is the controlled component and another one is the uncontrolled component. In the controlled component, whatever the inputs are taking, or the operations or the event handling are taking place using the state update or the mutation. Okay, so Based on that, it is going to be performed, and first it is going to reflect to the virtual DOM, then only it is going to impact to the real DOM. But in case of the reference, what we are doing is like we are direct impacting the real DOM. Okay, suppose if I take an example of any input tag, HTML tag, okay, where we will be having one value and on change handler. Okay, in the value, if we define the state, so most probably in the on change we are just setting or the updating the state, right? And in case of the uncontrolled component, that value and the updating the value, okay, so these two things are directly impacting to uh, 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 the real DOM by using or by taking the current value of the reference. Okay, so that called as a uncontrolled component. Okay, useReducer again, the as we have seen the again this is an alternate of the use state in some scenarios. What are the scenarios? In terms like the complexity of the state handling. Okay, so where we'll be having the multiple cases where we need to perform the different operation on specific state. Okay, so in those cases we can define those case as a action type, and the performing the switch cases in the use reducer by passing the reducer function. Okay, and taking some initial values of those the state we can say, and which is again going to be accessed through the use reducer where it's accepting the two parameter. One is the this one the reducer, which is again the function, and the initial values where we are defining what kind of state, and which is going to give us the dispatch through which we can just passing the action and just performing the operation over the state. Okay, and another one is the state, what is the current state is. Okay, so uh, so I have covered some basic points on this specific hooks. You can, if you have like still more to know about these things, so you can just try to just read about those on the Google and they just typing out. Okay, so that is the task for you guys. So next is like how we can use hooks to create the component. Okay, so basically here you can see in the example, I have declared one functional component which is again taking the use of use state inbuilt hooks. Okay, where it's defining the state and the state handler as well, and there is one counter where we can see it's incrementing the state, decrementing and resetting. Okay, so hope you guys like got the all the points what I have covered. So anyone have any doubt? Lavina?
No, Hemant, I'm good.
Okay. Tejasri?
I'm good to Hemant.
Rakesh?
Yes, Evan, you have any practical for this in
Yes, yes,
hook?
yes, yes. I'm proceeding. I'm proceeding. The next session
Mm.
is only the practice only. Shankar? Okay. Okay. Amar?
No,
Akshay?
Hemant, yeah, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so guys, next time moving to the event handler practice and the hooks practice. Okay, so where we are going to create one functional component and which is going to use the inbuilt hooks, which is the use state. Okay, and also I'll cover the use reducer part as of now. And so just due to yesterday's some like I went to the office and those things, so I got the enough time that only the that much of time. So I just covered only these 2 points. Okay, so from the next session, I'll just try to add some few more points. Okay, and in the next session, you will be like see the like what is the life cycle methods and how it is going to be used in the class component. What are their phases, and the after that in the hooks how you can achieve through the use effect. Okay, I'll cover in the next session. And apart from that, regarding your concern related to the some programming things. Okay, maybe some related to the redux context, some CRUD functionalities, login functionalities, and the implementation of the I think redux as well. Okay, so those parts are going to be covered. Okay, no need to worry about those things. Okay, so from the fifth session, it will be more on the practice session where we just try to solve some the basic problems, and by implementing the context, calling the APIs and those things. Okay, so those going to be covered. No need to worry about those things. Okay, so next I am moving to the coding part. Okay. You guys able to see the VS Code screen? Can anyone confirm?
VS Code not at, I think. We just one screen I'm seeing how we can use hooks to create component, that one.
Okay, okay. 1 second. Just hold on. I think there is some network issue. Let me share the screen one more time. Now, now are you able to see?
Yes.
So now we are
Now
seeing a white.
Yes.
Oh, we can see it.
Yes, I can see the VS Studio.
Okay, okay, okay. So I'm starting with the event handling. Okay, I'm removing this part. First, we'll see in the this one functional component how we can handle the okay FC. So it is going to create the functional component with the export. Okay. So here you can see the functional component. Here I'm writing one event handler, that is handle click, which is again going to console the click, whether we have clicked, okay, whether this event handler has been called or not. Okay, we'll just import it here. Hope you are guys are able to see my like screen switching. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, from one file to another one, right?
Yeah.
We can see.
Okay. So here you can see the practice 01 component has been rendered. Okay, I'm creating one button. And here I'm just calling the click, and I'm just calling this event handler. So in the inspect, we'll see in the console part whether we have clicked the button or not. Okay. So this is about the functional component, how we can implement the event handler. Okay. Next is the using the class component. Okay, I'm inputting the class component using the. Okay. So first I'll just uh, 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 create the simple one. Okay, where we are not updating any a state, or just we are just consoling the things, okay, on the button click. Okay, click. So okay, I'll just copy and paste this thing there. Okay, and going to import this one. So we'll access through the this keyword. Okay, as this is the class component. Re-entering again and just clicking on this one. So this is the simple basic where we are not updating any state as of now. Okay, next I'm moving to the constructor. So here we are having one state which is going to be updated on the click. Okay, suppose take one count, the initial value is 0. Okay, and if I try to update this one, this dot set state, so it will throw me the error. Here I'm just displaying the value of the count. Okay, okay, if we see this one, if I click on this one, so it is going to throw one error. Okay, so here what I need to do is, there are multiple ways. First is the binding. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just bind it with the constructor. Okay, and yeah, try one more time. If I'm clicking, so you will able to see on the clicking, we are able to see the count is incrementing. Okay, so this is the constructor binding. Another one is the dynamic binding. Okay, so here what I'll do is I'll bind this. Let's try this one. I think we need to add some few more things. So you can see it's again incrementing. So this is the dynamic binding. Okay, and another way is the using the this one array function. Okay, what I'll do is okay, so using the array function. This is the main one we need to take care because uh, mostly like in the further sessions. So whatever the programming we are going to do, those will be into the hooks only, like in the functional component only. Okay, so in the functional component, there is no need to bind. So those case like mostly we will be implementing event handler using the array function only. Okay. Next is passing the value. Okay. So suppose in place of the count, I'll one second. It will be the string. Okay. And here is the new text I'm passing. Okay. Which is going to set as the state. And from here on the click, I need to pass the value. Okay. So this way I can just pass with new text. Okay. So here the display part is already there. Okay. And here I'll try to pass this value and it is going to set as a count. Okay. Just see on this part how it is going to react. Okay. So here the event has been called and it has been updated this one. If we don't use this one, we'll see this part as well. So it is just giving us, it's calling the multiple time. You see the rendering happen. So we need to give this arrow scenarios here while passing the parameter. Okay. This is the simple one. So here I have covered the binding with the dynamic binding, constructor binding, arrow function, and the passing the value. Okay, in the event handler. Next, I'm moving to the hooks practice. Okay. This will be the functional component, right? Okay. So this is the basic functional component. Here, what I'll do is I'll create one counter, okay, which going to decrease the value of the count state, okay, and we'll be declaring one state as well, okay. So I'm declaring one state which is going to take count and set count, by using the useState. Is automatically imported. So this is the way how we can declare the state in the hooks. Okay, so it is again like construct using the brackets, this one. Okay, and here there are two. It's going to return us useState going to takes the initial value and it is returning us the value or the we can say state and the state handler. Okay, the updater of the state. Okay, so here again I'm taking the same example with the button. Okay, so where there will be the multiple button and also the count as well. I'm copying the code from here. Okay, and okay, let me just completely copy. Okay, this is the practice session 3. From here we can set count. Okay, directly we are just each state having their own updater. Okay, so there is no need to pass as in this type of where we were doing in the class component in case of the state. Okay, so here the simple we need to increment by 1 the count. Okay, so this one is the plus or the increment. The next button is the decrementing it. Okay, we'll see whether this thing is working or not. And down one it's displaying the count. There is no need to write the this state count. Okay, and I am importing this component. So here component G is 3. So here you can see practice 3 and the plus and minus button and the count 0. Okay, it's the initial value. I'll try to just increment it and decrement it. Okay, there is one more we can say the reset. Okay, it will take it as a initial value. Okay, reset. Okay, so I'm resetting it, incrementing, decrementing, and reset. Okay, so this is how I created using the use state. Suppose they're having the multiple operation on the single state. So how will we able to access? So there is another way, alternate way to create the reducer and the initial state and using the useReducer. So that I'll going to cover. We'll just start writing it. So while implementing the useReducer, so we will be having one function which is called as reducer. Okay, so which is basically accepting the two argument. One is the state, what is the current state, right? And the action, what we are firing, or the type of operation, type of action, which is again the operation, whether it may be the increment, decrement, or the reset one. Okay, so here we are defining the switch statement. Okay, which is going to take the action type, okay, having the multiple case, okay. One is the increment, another one is the case decrement, third one is reset case, reset, okay. Here in the case one, the return part is state going to be updated with the current state. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Count, suppose, okay, sorry. Before updating, we need to also initialize the state. What are the initial state is? Ini state is equals to count 0. Okay, so the state name is like the state property is count, where the initial value of the count is 0. Okay, so here the again the object which will be having the count as a state, okay, and the we can update through this one, okay. So in this, while writing the reducer, we will be returning the object, okay. So here in the increment part, what is the current state count is going to be changed here, the state where the it defines the what is the current value of the count, and it is going to increment that one, okay. Next, I am going to the decrement. The same way, we are just decrement it by 1, okay. And the same in the reset, where we are just defining the count to the initial value or the 0 1, okay. So here the use, instead of the use state, we will be using the use reducer, okay, which will be taking the two parameter. One is the reducer, okay, and another one is the initial state, okay. And it is going to return us the state which is the complete, we can say, complete state, or the object of the state, and another one is the dispatch through which we are accessing the we are firing the action through the dispatch itself, okay. So here in the on click, we will be calling the dispatch, okay. It's again accepting the action object which will be having the property of type, okay. What type of property we are passing for the increment or the plus button, we will be typing the increment, and the same way we can give for the decrement as well. We'll see for first for the 1 second. For the decrement as well, we are passing the decrement, okay. And just for the resetting, we are passing the reset one. And instead of simple count, we'll just give the state dot count, okay. We'll see. So the component has been rendered. It's taking the initial state. I'm just incrementing. So it's calling that dispatch reducer one increment. Okay, here it's updating the value of the count by 1. Okay, and the decrement, it's again also decrementing the count by 1. Okay, and instead in case of the reset, it's updating to the 0, or we can say the initial state. Okay, So this way we can implement the we have covered the use state, okay, the simple state, and the use reducer, which is again like going to handle the complex scenarios in terms of the state where we are updating the state, okay. So this way we can achieve the multiple one. And here also, like if you do any, like if suppose if we are just incrementing by 2, decrementing by 1, and resetting state to the uh, 10, suppose if we say, okay. So incrementing by 2, okay, decrementing by 1, and resetting, it's going to uh, reset the value to the 10. Okay, so this way you can implement it. So further, the in the fifth session, we'll use the use reducer, okay, in the CRUD scenarios where we are implementing the routing, okay, CRUD, and also using the context where it is going to help us, okay, and which is going to again implementing the context where it is going to impact all the component, and through which we can, if we are incrementing or the performing any operation on one component which is going to render on the single root, okay, using the routing, and another one for the listing, which is again just list all the datas, okay. So to access the same values where we are updating on the another one component, and the where the another component which is going to load all the values on the different component, okay, which says we can call it as a listing one, okay. So at the same time, okay, it is going to be avail the datas, okay. So it is again the case where if they required or not, but that is going to be happen because we have bind the or the provided at the root level the context data. Okay, so that's it for the today, guys. You have any doubt?
No, I'm good.
Or hope what I was switching from one component to another component, it was easily able to access or the easily able to see at your end, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Tesri?
Yes, Hemant. Yeah, it was clear.
Yeah, Rakesh, have you understand the the basic use reducer application?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay. Any doubt or any suggestion? Like, see, in the last practice session, I was somewhere here and there, but I'm continuously trying. Okay, and also trying to include the relevant example to you guys, and I'm continuously working on myself as well. Okay, so yeah. Anything else? Okay, so can we conclude now? Any confirmation? Okay. Okay then. Bye. Bye everyone.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.